Hi and welcome to my warts and all review / overview for my eBay listing of my Skyteam Skymax 125. So it's a 2015 model. It's just done over 2,126 kilometers, so that is kilometers and not miles. The speedo is also in kilometers, so yeah, I mean, in a sentence I'd say it's a gem, but a bit rough around the edges. So yeah, I've had it for about a year and a half now. The previous owner basically had it sit on the back of a camper van and basically let it sit there rotting for a couple of years. So yeah, I bought it, gave it a good clean up, and yeah, the rest is history. But you know, as you can see, it's in okay condition. I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick this up, but it's in okay condition. But you know, you can tell the weather has definitely got to it somewhat. You know, it's you know, a lot of the chrome got a bit pitted. You know, some of it's not too bad, but yeah, some of the paint is flaking on the wheels and on the engine, so it is definitely a bit rough around the edges, but mechanically sound. So I'll go through some of the main points of my ownership. So yeah, it's got about 7 horsepower apparently, according to the online specs. But it only weighs 90 kilograms, so it doesn't feel like 7 horsepower. It does feel pretty nippy around town. So yeah, super fun. That is like the main pro point to this bike. It is just so manoeuvrable and nippy. It just flies around town. You can get through gaps that cyclists can't even get through. So yeah, fun is like the biggest pro point of this bike, I'd say. So and be warned, this thing gets a lot of attention. So you know, if you don't like being stopped every 5 minutes, being asked, you know, what is it, you know, where did you get it from, yeah, then it might not be the bike for you, because yeah, a lot of people love this thing and will shout monkey at you down the street and stuff. So yeah, get ready for a fair bit of attention. Yeah, loads of tread on the tyres at the minute, front and rear. I mean, the tyres are probably a bit old now, so it might be worth replacing if need be. But no, it's plenty of life in them. MOT till September 2023, so just passed the MOT. Sounds great. I mean, for a little 125 with the stock exhaust, I mean, again, it's got some slight bits of rust, but nothing that a bit of exhaust, black exhaust paint won't solve. Like the chrome heat guards actually held up pretty well. But yeah, I think it sounds great. Yeah, 5.5 litre tank. So with this bike doing about 100 miles to the gallon, you're looking at, you know, a good 150 miles, I think, from a tank. I mean, I forget to fill it up sometimes, to be quite honest, but yeah, plenty of fuel in it, and it just seems to last forever. Very, very cheap to run. So for me, it's been super reliable. I've not had any mechanical breakdowns, anything breaking. I mean, it's all original parts. I mean, I've you know, gave it a good thrashing, but I do take it fairly easy on it. But yeah, nothing's broken, nothing's, you know, came off. So yeah, it's been great on the reliability front. The parts and accessories are pretty cheap online as well. You can find loads on eBay and a few Chinese bike websites. So the only problem I've seen is that the shipping costs can be quite a lot, or they might want you to spend a minimum amount of, say, like 120 quid to fulfill an order, unless you want to pay a premium. But yeah, plenty of accessories available. So yes, great in London traffic. I mean, I probably wouldn't recommend having this if you have to do tons of, you know, dual carriageway A roads, etc. It's a bit underpowered for that, but you know, anything up to 55, 60, it's fine. You know, it does get a bit scary being on such a small vehicle going that fast, but you know, if if you have to take it on any major A roads, I would say it might be, well, I'd advise getting a full license and getting a big bike. To be quite honest, any 125 is going to struggle. So yeah, it can be put in the boot of a car. So I actually got this back from Plymouth. So I went down there, chucked it in the boot of my Hyundai Ioniq, which has since been stolen, but that's another story. But yeah, you can fold down the handlebars, and it makes it a lot smaller. You can take off the mirrors and you know, get it as small as possible. So I actually had this in the, you know, I had to fold the seats down, but I had it in the back of my Hyundai. And you know, a word of warning, I would say that it's worth bleeding the brakes again if you do that, because it can introduce air into the brake system. So definitely worth re-bleeding them if you do have to chuck it in the back of a car. But yeah, I'd say yeah, it's probably fit in the back of most cars, even hatchbacks and stuff probably. But so some people might see this as good or bad, but I definitely see this as a plus. But it has the old school kickstart. It does have a electric start as well, but I would say that, you know, on a cold start, especially in the winter, best to get it kick started. I mean, it does struggle a bit to start off the electric start in the winter, or first thing. So but that might just be to do with the battery. I think it probably does need a battery replacement soon. So, you know, I love the nostalgic feeling of giving it a good kickstart, you know, rather than, you know, the easy button press. Kind of brings me back. So yeah, you might like that, you might not. But another thing is that it is carbureted. So another positive or negative, depending on how you see it. I mean, I love the old school carbureted bikes. This one has all the jets set apparently from factory, so you don't have to do no messing about balancing the carb or anything like that, or not balancing, but like cleaning the carbs, or you might have to clean them at some point, but you know what I mean. It's, you know, old technology, but it's, you know, nice and simple, and yeah, it's never let me down so far. Just can be a bit of a pain on a cold morning, you know, first thing, freezing temperatures, it can be a bit of a pain, but it does at least giving you all the smell and nostalgic feeling that comes with carbs. So again, you might like that, might not. I for one, you know, my other bike's fuel injected, and this is like, you know, completely different. You know, you get the full smell of the petrol, you know, and it's super rich and stuff. So yeah, I think it's great. So yeah, it's got a nice centre stand, which makes doing the chain and stuff a lot easier. Does have the side stand as well. A word of warning that if the side stand is down, it won't let you start, just like most bikes won't. But with this bike, it will almost sound like it will start. So you could be sitting there kicking it for 5 minutes trying to get it to start, and then realise that the kickstand's down. So just a word of warning there. So generally speaking, the build quality is really good. You know, everything's solid metal. You know, a big you know, solid engine. The frame's really good. Like, I mean, the paint has held up really well on the frame, considering how long it was out in the open. There is some small little chips, I mean, and the engine paintwork hasn't held up too great, but it's not horrendous. It's not horridly rusty or coming off. So I did repaint the chain guards and front and rear mud guards because they was chrome, but yeah, the weather really didn't do them any favours, so I just sanded them down, just chucked a bit of paint on them, and yeah, they look pretty good. I mean, definitely passable. It's definitely nowhere near you know, showroom finish, but you know, for the price of the bike, and you know, it's meant to be a bit of a workhorse. It's not a solely posing bike. You know, it will put in the miles, and it's never let me down. It's a warts and all review. I'm not gonna hold back any judgments. You know, it's definitely not a perfect bike. You know, it's a bit rough around the edges coming, you know, as a Chinese bike and stuff. So first off, not really the bike's fault, but it can be quite invisible to other road users. So I would say if you're, you know, super new or super you know, inexperienced road user, I'd be very careful, because you're very small. You're very small on the road on this. You know, people can struggle to see you, so you know, more experienced riders will be fine, you know, but just a word of warning, yeah, if it's your very first time being on the road, then you know, this could be quite dangerous. So, but that's not any fault of the bike, to be honest. It's just part and parcel with what it is. So it was getting a slight oil leak just from down near, I think it's the clutch casing. Only very, very minor, maybe like a tablespoonful of oil every week or two. It's like very, very slow, but something to keep in mind. I just keep it parked on like a sheet of cardboard. Yeah, I mean, you can't even, you know, in the time that it's been sitting here, not a single drop's come out, but you know, over the course of a couple of weeks, you know, might have a few drips come out of it. But again, it's not a big deal, but just something worth mentioning. It's in overall, you know, okay condition. Definitely has, you know, its fair share of like little rusted bits here and there, paint flaking, paint coming off the calipers there, pitting on the forks there, but fully functional. It's not had any problems, you know, a bit more pitting there, a bit of rust in the exhaust, so it's definitely not in anywhere near pristine condition. But you know, this is why it's going to be up just on a no reserve sale. So so yeah, could be a bit of a fixer upper for the right person, but works completely fine in its current condition. So it's only got one key at the minute. Obviously you can get more made. Just where it is, I accidentally knocked the other key the other day, which broke. Didn't affect the ignition at all. It's just the keys are a bit flimsy, so just word of warning, just be careful with the keys, and I would advise getting another one cut, which I might do myself if I get some time. So so again, another bad point is, you know, you might not like carburetted bikes. I mean, we're spoiled these days by the fuel injection, so you know, it might not be for you, but I personally see it as a positive. So brakes, they're okay. I wouldn't say they're, you know, world class leading brakes, but you know, it's got discs on the, a single disc on the front, a drum brake on the rear, and they both work fine. Non-ABS, so like no ABS, so which is great because you get to do some skids, but keep that in mind if you're very used to ABS only bikes. But yeah, plenty of stopping power. I'll probably do a little stopping power test as soon as I get back out on the road. So yeah, lights aren't the brightest. I mean, yeah, they're only small bulbs, so you know, I would be very careful riding this in the dark. Like, they do work, like it's got the high beam and dip beam, but yeah, it's just be careful. I mean, it's a bit, they're a bit dim compared to like the LED lights that you get these days on all the cars and stuff, so something to keep in mind. Suspension's a little hard, yeah. I mean, yeah, the old dual sprung loaded suspension can be a bit, you know, I don't know, you could definitely do with an upgrade. I mean, it works perfectly fine, it's not got any problems, but I would probably advise getting some new ones if so be it. Same as the front. I mean, it's cheap Chinese, it's not amazing, but it gets the job done. You know, you can whiz around corners, you know, it's got adequate, you know, usability, so it's, yeah, here's what it is. Could do with an upgrade, but we'll be fine as it is. So we'll struggle a bit over 55 miles per hour, but you know, that's just 125s in general, really. The clutch and gearbox can be a bit clunky sometimes, you know. You know, it's still Chinese. They just, I think I've just got used to the Yamaha gearbox and stuff over the years, so you know, which are just absolutely silky smooth, so it can feel a little bit clunky sometimes, but you know, it's again, it's kind of brings you back to the old school a bit. Getting into neutral, it can be a bit difficult at a complete stop. No problems at all when getting to neutral if you're rolling, but yeah, if you come to a complete stop, it can be a bit of a pig. It actually prefers to drop into neutral from second going down rather than being in first and going up, so a bit of gentle nuance and you get the hang of it. So yeah, general overall Chinese build quality, so just be careful with the bolts. I mean, I don't tighten them up as, you know, as rock solid as some people would, and which would strip the bolts. So just be careful doing up any bolts, and even if using a torque wrench, you've got to be careful, because yeah, if you're unlucky, you might strip a bolt. But I've not stripped anything major on this. Any that I've done, I've replaced. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. It's not the biggest fan of using E10 fuel. It will run fine, it just seems to not really like it sitting in the carbs for you know, long extended periods of time. So I did put E10 in it, didn't ride it for like 2 weeks, and it struggled to start a bit, so I had to empty the bowl of the carb, and then, you know, once it got some running back through it again, it all seemed fine. But I would ideally put in some E5, yeah, E5. It just seems to like the E5 a bit better. So it could do with a new battery, as I said earlier, although the current one is fine, and I like kickstarting it anyway, so that's, you know, a non-issue for myself, and probably a non-issue for most people. You know, it's tubed tyres as well, so you know, advantages and disadvantages again. I mean, if you do get a puncture, you can't just use your tyre plug kit, but what I used to do is just carry around a spare inner tube, and there, you know, a couple of spanners, and you can very quickly take off the wheels, and they kind of split in two. So just a few bolts holding the actual rims together, and you know, you split the rim, take the inner tube out and replace it, and you know, you can easily do that on the side of the road. So So yeah, I would probably prefer tubeless tyres, but you know, it's only a cheapish bike. So and lastly, the seat isn't really as comfortable as it kind of looks. It might just be the age of it. It's still pretty comfortable compared to a lot of bikes that I've rid, but yeah, it's you know, after a couple of hours you do start getting a bit of numb bum, but you know, it's yeah, it's not as comfortable as like the Honda original monkey bike seat, which is a bit more plush. Like this kind of looks plush but is a bit hard. So yeah, it's overall a really nice little bike. So I'll quickly take it for a little whiz about, and yeah, good luck in the listings. So I'll give it a little kickstart for the sake of it. Kick first time. Lovely little engine. I mean, yeah, once it's fully cold it can take a couple of kicks, but I've never had any major problems. And yeah, if you chuck a new battery in, it'll probably save you a bit of hassle. But and yeah, it's got this little choke here and stuff for those nice winter mornings. I've got the choke completely off at the minute. To make sure my visor's down. I'm pretty terrible for having that up, to be honest. Let me get off the pavement. So yeah, stock exhaust, I don't think it sounds too bad. I mean, there is aftermarket exhaust out there if that's your thing. So hopefully this camera's picking up the sound okay. So I'll just have a little whiz about. I don't want to make this video way too long. But a nice long road that can kind of simulate a little A road as well. So so yeah, good fun. It's, I mean, watch this. You can just turn it round on a 10p piece, probably, you know. It is weirdly loud, which not overly loud. It's not you know, baffles out loud, but you will get people having a good look at you. Obviously you want to be careful through the speed cameras as well, where it's a bit more difficult to see the miles per hour reading. But yeah, it's I mean, it's a nice and smooth engine. If I can, I'll do a little brake test as well. I'm not going to go too crazy if I've only just jumped on it, but yeah, it's not too bad. Kind of in line with what you'd expect with a little disc. Only 4 gears as well. Like, you will probably be looking for a 5th if you're very used to that. So I just better close up my vents quickly. So what we're going now, so this is 40, so it you know, it's it'll cruise along nicely at 40. I think above 45 is when you start really feeling it. You really start feeling it struggle a little bit, but yeah, it's alright. This is full throttle at the minute, so Oh, this is a bit of a slow road, so I better not go too crazy. Nice view out the mirrors as well. You don't get much mirror shake unless you're completely stationary. Oh, typical, get stuck behind the bus. But this is kind of when it's in its element, you know. When you're just tottering around is where it kind of feels comfortable, you know. It's yeah, trying to absolutely max it out all the time isn't where it likes to be quite honest. But I can still do it if need be. So nice and flickable, as they say. The handlebars are quite, you know, skinny. They're quite together, so great in town. You can literally squeeze through gaps that cyclists can't get through. So it is an absolute beast in town, that you will get past all of the Uber drivers and Uber dispatch riders, you know, on their mopeds and stuff. You know, it's even if you have to kind of lift up the front wheel, turn it round if need be, like it's so light that you can pretty much do anything. But yeah, you can almost turn on the spot as it is, just with a little bit of turn and a bit of lean. So excellent in town. I'd say that is definitely where it's strongest and where it really excels. So let's see if I can overtake this bus. It's pretty nippy. I mean, it might not be as fast as a R125 or something, but to be honest, any 125 is a bit slow. If you want proper speed, just go get your full license. Something like this is just excellent for getting around London as fast as possible, economically as possible. And it feels cool and nostalgic. Just be careful that, you know, you're as visible as possible when on the road, because yeah, I've had a few situations where it's been a bit spotty because someone's not seen you, but you know, I get that on my big bike as well, so this just kind of brings it to the next level. So, you know, very new riders be warned. But yeah, feel free to drop me a message or a call if you'd like to come round and see it in the flesh. Then you're more than welcome. So the listing will be up for 7 days, no reserve. I just need the new space for another bike, so it's unfortunately gonna have to go, and I know I'll miss it big time because, you know, I don't ride this thing for a week or two and I'm craving to get out on it and, you know, be a little demon out there. You know, it will put the biggest smile on your face just whizzing about. So it's me again looking for a fifth gear. All right, I'm gonna try a little braking test. Oh, maybe not. Oh, this will be a little manoeuvrability test. I mean, a lot of people think these are the 50cc version, and they actually move quite quick. So, right, this is me trying to get into neutral. There we go. So it can be done. It just takes a bit of finesse, you know. Come on, lights. So I don't normally drive this fast, to be quite honest, but oh my god, it feels a lot faster than what it is. I'll do a little brake test here. So what, going about 40, so braking now. So yeah, I mean, I didn't go all the way to, don't want to lock the wheels up, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me pull over here. Oh, one last thing to note, the indicators, you know, they fully work. It's just with my Yamaha, you push the button in to cancel. On these, you do need to make sure that you flick it back to the centre, which is a bit odd, but you quickly get used to it. You know, it's not a big deal in my opinion, but I'll quickly go over all the functions, but this video is already starting to kind of get on a bit, so okay. So you got, what am I doing? So indicators for the right, indicators for the left. So obviously got its lights on now. So dip beam, it's got the high beam. Can't really see it, as I said, it's a bit light. It's got the side lights, ignition, horn, nice little cheeky horn, and yeah, brake lights. There we go. Brake lights, that's the front brake. Brake lights all working. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So good luck with the bids, and yeah, stay safe out there. Take care.